Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Saturday evening talk arranged by JanyuTech Private Limited. Today we have with us Mr. Digambar Deshpande. He is my senior from IIT Bombay, and he after BTech in IIT Bombay, he did MBA in XLRA Jamshedpur. He also has certificate program in International Masters in Practicing Management from University of Lancaster, UK. He has been trained in TQM, TOC, Theory of Constraints at JUICE in Japan and Goldratt School program respectively.
Oh, thank you so much. And all the JanyuTech Saturday talk audience, it's really been my pleasure and my honor to speaking to you. Because whatever Mr. Pathak thinks of me very high, so I was given a freedom to choose a topic to speak on. And I have chosen this topic as project execution and decision making. I'll explain to you why I chose this topic amongst many topics that were going around in my mind. Recently, in my, let us say, consulting and advisory tasks that I perform, I happened to be in a situation in one of the companies in Orissa on decision making. So it's a project situation. So they are putting up an additional project facilities in their plant. And as a project facility, one needs to take a lot of decisions. So a decision was also being taken. In this particular case, the decision was to you can say, ask Siemens as the original equipment manufacturer to do the erection at site, or alternatively, allow Siemens recognized and listed contractors to be chosen as the erector for the turbine. Apparently, it looks very simple decision, really speaking, but I want to bring out the complexity in this decision making. And then we dwell with the subject of why decision making is becoming important. So the order is placed on Siemens maybe 8 months ago to supply a turbine and erect it at site and commission it and run it trouble-free, which is fairly what anyone else would have done in a similar situation and a similar role. So there is nothing abnormal about it. Comes an email from Siemens saying that if you want us to erect the turbine, it will take longer time than what the project schedule will allow. Now the reaction to this particular email, of course, there are multiple reactions possible. One will say, how can Siemens say that? The contract says they must do it in time and we must force them to do in time. One option, one alternative. Second alternative is to sort of look at the practical aspect and see this Siemens, when they say that they cannot do it, so maybe they have a difficulty and they are coming forthright, so 7-8 months ahead of project commissioning, that they will not be able to commission it as early as we would like it to be commissioned, and therefore they are asking us to exercise our option to engage them, continue to engage them, or discover or choose an option which will allow us to meet the project schedules better. So this was the decision. The project manager asked me, first he chose the option which is meet the project schedule and even let the Siemens contractors to do the erection work. He asked me this question, because I'm an advisor, whether this is the right decision or not. So I told him, give me an hour's time, because this is something which, exact situation is not something which I've handled earlier. Let me just put down my thoughts together at one place, check with a couple of friends of mine, and then come back to you. And then I looked at the facts, I looked at first the internet sources, then looked at some of my friends, talked to them, and then came to my conclusion, yes, that it is not something which is abnormal, not something which is abnormal to let Siemens contractors to do the erections. It so happens through internet sources that I learned that almost 70% of turbines that Siemens supplies are actually erected by their contractors, and not they don't get involved. Siemens technicians or Siemens own crew doesn't get involved excepting for a senior supervision. They don't get involved because they have to perform guarantees and therefore they need to be involved. they get involved in the senior supervision level only. Now, so far so good. The project manager says that we should use the contractor. I also look at my data, look at my options, evaluate them, and say yes, the contractor can do it. It is an industry practice, so it's okay. And at night, owner's representative calls me saying that no, this decision is not right. You please change the decision. We talk to Siemens, and we must ask Siemens to do it themselves. Now, this call from owner's representative was something which was a little bit of disturbing call. One, either both of us had failed to engage the owner's representative in the decision making for this particular subject earlier and then taken a decision. One way of looking at it. The second way of looking at it, the owner's representative doesn't have any business, actually speaking, to do this because it is not affecting any of his, let us say, requirements, any of his calls. And therefore, why should he be interfering into the professional call by the project manager and then being advised by me? Therefore, I felt that he should not be interfering. But then I kept quiet because it is actually owner who was talking through his representative. Then I kept quiet. Then I started bought myself the time during the night and the early morning the next day. And then I checked around with some people within the company and some people outside the company as to what are the risk perceptions of people on getting it done through a contract and getting it done through insisting on getting it done through Siemens. Now, details apart, actually speaking, what happened, why it happened, etc. So the two things came to my mind in this particular whole episode. That there is no formal decision-making process prevailing in this company. Usually something like this I would not have experienced in Tata Steel. The decisions do get changed, but they get changed before they are communicated to the outside world. So there's an internal shuffling, internal discussion which is going on. So one person's decision gets overruled or let us say overwritten by somebody else's opinion, etc. Can happen, which is normal, actually speaking, which is what should happen also. No 10 people will have the same opinion on the same subject, same risk perception on the same subject. So, but it did send me a message that as an advisor, I need to set right the decision-making process in this organization. So I am in that job now to how to go about doing it without letting them feel that I am intruding in their decision-making process or I am influencing their decision-making process. I am initially choosing to do it subtly because given the context, if I touch the decision-making process, it will become very apparent that I am taking sides. I have no intentions to take sides in this particular situation. So this is the background. So I felt that this is a situation I came through as an advisor. Somebody else came through as a project manager. Somebody else must have come through as an assistant project manager. Somebody else must have come through as an owner. Somebody else must have come through as a CFO of the owning organization or a different competent engineer who will have a different opinion. So there can be situations like this. So this situation is not something which is abnormal to expect in any organization, any project. Therefore, the decision-making process right in the beginning, if it is set well, then you don't get to the difficulties of having to communicate your decision and then reverse it soon thereafter. It was slightly, you can say, more than embarrassing. It was, downgrading the voice of the customer himself. That he says something today and reverses it something tomorrow, then the supplier doesn't value customer's opinion as much as he needs to value. And we require more work to be done in the project. And therefore, we can't let our voice go down so very easily and so very frequently. This is the starting point. So what are the issues which are involved in the decision making, and how should it have gone in the first place? What can be different situations where people would get into different, let's say, dilemmas and different situations. How will they make decisions? So this is a subject which I thought could be fit for us to actually discuss about. And it is not necessary that each one of you must be made in a project situation, because whether you say it or not, each one of us is involved in a 1 lakh rupees project or a 10 lakh rupees project or a 10 crore rupees project or a 1,000 crore rupees project. One way or other, we are situated in the project. Sometimes the risks are manageable. Ownership and the decision making is with us only. So it doesn't matter much. We take the decision. We repent the decision often sometimes. Why did we do this? But then we're telling ourselves only that we took a bad decision 1 month ago. We can only repent to ourselves. So I just want to analyze this particular subject and put up some coherent stream of thoughts in front of you for you to sort of think it over, actually speaking. That's the purpose of this particular talk. So the project execution is like driving success through effective choices. So somebody, when I joined the project in Tata Steel, some senior people in the project, people, not in Tata Steel members, outsiders. When you talk to them over drinks, over dinner, etc. So what is their perception? What is your perception? And what goes on in the market and things like that. When you're talking loose like this, so somebody came with a statement which struck my mind actually at that time, and it just still stays embedded in my mind. It says that the project is a million decisions, assembly of million decisions. So all decisions need to be coherent. All decisions need to be taken in time. They should be taken in a way in which they need to be taken, etc. And then he says, "Look, I have been involved in this project, other project, other project, other project. There are many projects that I keep doing, and I have done it in the past also. So if I had to draw a common line of common thread in all these projects to tell you what a project means, then he says it just means to me that how do you take this million decisions? How do you go about doing so?" That's the basic definition of project that he painted for me, and I felt that I should also get that particular definition across for you to think over and examine subsequent thoughts in that light. There's another quote that I read is that good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions. Now, which basically suggests that we must end up doing some bad decisions to start with, then only we'll start going to a good decision-making process. Now, this is okay for people with experience, but what about people who are young, who are just joining in a project team? Should they be deciding or should they not be deciding? And what should be the criteria for them to decide? We'll just go over. So there's a small joke which says that a project manager decided to quit the job. Question is, why was he quitting? And the answer is because he could not decide whether to stay or whether to go elsewhere. I also read this thing a couple of times. What is it trying to say? But then I discovered that he's a project manager. So he discovered that indecision is costing him also quite a lot. So he can't be undecided. And if he is not sure of staying, best situation for him to actually is quit. And then he quits. And all of us know those little experiences that we have gathered, that indecision costs money, costs delays, costs displeasure to all the stakeholders, etc. So important that we need to be decisive in the project. This reinforces the million decision concept of project. So I look at this, why decision making matters in the project execution. It impacts project's outcome, scope, budget, timeline, quality. Talked about earlier. Addresses uncertainty, resource allocation, resource management. Many of these things are very obvious, so I don't have to explain all of them. But in case any one of you feel why am I saying so, you can always ask me now or ask me later on why am I saying so. The adaptability in dynamic project environments is a factor which is important and which is a very important attribute of not only a project director but of a project team as a whole. If you are not adaptive, and if it's sort of draw, as they say, a line on the stone and then stick to that line, then we may do a project in time, in budget, in cost, etc. Everything we will do, but we may miss the important objective. Why are we doing this project? What this project is supposed to deliver to the stakeholders? We might miss that. So therefore, we need to be dynamic. We need to understand that the decision taken and the implementation of project, there is a time gap of around 2 years, 3 years. So what happens in this 2-3 years is extremely important. There are quite a few instances when people have gone ahead with the projects and at some point, 3 months, 6 months down the road, drop the project or change the project. I think that they are being adaptable. to the dynamic project environments. I mentioned to you poor decisions lead to delays, cost overruns, etc. Right. The Project Management Institute states that 70% of the projects fail due to poor decision making. Now, I also did not know this. So when I started looking around some fillers for the presentation, then I got this particular line that it is so. It's a little surprising to me. I thought it have been failing because of suppliers failing, contractors failing, and this and that, etc. But 70% of projects actually fail for decision making. Right. So we go to the next slide. Key stages of decision making of a project. Now, this is important for people who are coming new into the project, really speaking. Of course, it is also important for people who have 10, 15, 20 years of experience in the project, because they can see the project idea is being distilled into few lines, actually speaking. So identify the problem or the opportunity. That's generally people do quite in the beginning, before the project comes in the hands of the project manager. There are different set of people who do this work. Then they gather information, collect relevant data, stakeholders, inputs, etc. This is what a project manager does when he makes a plan for the project, execution of the project, and analyze options in terms of cost, time, feasibility. This is just not one-time exercise. Analyzing options or gathering information. As long as the project is running, this process is running. So there are small multiple circles which keep running as we go on doing the project, and these are the constituents of the circle, actually: gathering information, analyzing options, making the decision, implementing the decision, review and learning from the decision. So if you ask somebody what are the stages of production, if you ask somebody what are the stages in the marketing, or ask somebody what are the stages in this, often some change in the words here and there, but you'll get the same kind of an answer in this speak, because they go to the fundamentals. It looks something like this only, really speak. So I think it's important to get to these basics of the decision-making process. How do you decide, right? It looks easy many times, but it is sort of coming along with its own complexities, right? You are interviewing a project manager. This is a situation which I also passed through, and you're trying to find a particular candidate is suitable or not, or amongst the 4 or 5 candidates who appear suitable, who is the most suitable to making a decision of that sort. That's where this subject is important. That unless we have asked in the interview some questions about how good is the person in gathering information, or how dependent on he is in the information which is gathered by himself, gathered by others, and how much he values this information. Unless we have checked out these questions, or similarly for the other options also, we will not be able to come to a very good judgment on the basics capabilities of the person in doing the project. Because if you base our exam that it's a million decisions to be taken up, the person should be good at decision making, actually speaking. Then only he can actually perform. So that's the point I want to say about this, even for people who are experienced and people, most of the time you'll be interviewing people for project jobs, what to see in the person you're interviewing. So this is where I come to stakeholder involvement in decision making. How do you involve stakeholders? Is a skill, is a you can say art that the people in charge have or possess. But you need to involve. Very simply, because if there are 20 people working in the projects and there are half a dozen senior people in various disciplines upstairs, somebody is in charge of operations, somebody in charge of finance, somebody in charge of accounts, and somebody in charge of senior general management, etc. Half a dozen people upstairs. Each one has a way of looking at a particular aspect of a decision, and if people would like to push their cart forward, they say, look, this point is more important than that point, and therefore you must do this kind of a thing. So you have to continuously engage the stakeholders. So one way of engaging stakeholders is actually use the project communication meeting, the project discussion meeting that you have with the senior management, on one side and the junior people on the other side, you keep talking about one next week and the following week and the following week and the next month. You keep talking about it. This is what we'll do. This is what we think we'll do, want to do. This is what will happen. This is what we project will happen. Things of that sort. So you have people pre-connected with the events which you foresee in the next 2, 3, 4 months, and you bring out the major issues that are likely to come and the major business that will be coming, and you sort of pre-engage them on those issues actually. So when you make a reference to them, they are not surprised. They're just giving their opinions. There's a way of engagement. Different people will have a different way of engaging the stakeholders. The other way is to sort of understand something which goes in all organizations, but sometimes it is explicit, sometimes it is not explicit. Receive matrix, that for each decision, there's a person responsible, there's a person who is accountable, there's a person who needs to be consulted, there's a person who needs to be informed. So as long as we are aware that this kind of a matrix exists in all organizations at all points in time, it may be explicit, it may not be explicit, but it does exist. And from your experience, you would have also seen this. Whichever decision you make, sometimes you have to first tell the boss that you're going to make this decision, one. Or sometimes you have to tell your subordinate you're going to make this decision. Or you have to consult and tell somebody else, the other side, the customer side or the maintenance man side or somebody else, that you're going to make this decision, and collect their inputs and drop their inhibitions, actually speaking. Ensure transparent communication to align expectations. I personally value transparent communication as a strong tool, actually speaking, to align expectations, etc. And then the more we talk, the more meetings we have, the more setups during the project, outside the project, during the evening time, as many times you have opportunities, you get such things sorted out. Actually, you keep communicating. So even if you miss a formal communication once, you have informal communication already delivered to him, or you have don't have informal communication, you reach formal communication. So you have such a system actually going on in the setup. The stakeholders' involvement is extremely critical when there is a scope changing decisions, because then the charge against the project manager. I'm talking about project because I'm using the project situation, but it is true for any other function in the company as well. It is the original scope which is charted out, and there is a scope change which you are doing. Then the scope change is requires to be informed. And actually, if you look at the criteria of fairness, if the change scope is going to impact somebody else unfairly, then you must inform him in all fairness first. That's something which is a basic principle, actually speaking, how to go about working in an organization. So we must do this. So this is something which I want to draw your attention to. The last point is that we are talking about decision making in the project environment. We also must know how to measure the decisions. What are the metrics for decisions? How do you evaluate your decision? Whether it's a good decision, bad decision? How do you sort of look back on that decision and use the learning for the future decisions, etc. So we need to have some metrics. So project performance, on time, on budget, quality, this, that, etc. In the project environment, this is the one metric. Stakeholder satisfaction is the second. So you have to have open ears to actually catch this particular effectiveness metric, because you get this feedback from people more often than you think you are getting it. Only thing, you need to have ears to actually catch that, capture that, and then collate them together and get a central message taken out, and then react to those central messages, etc. That's something which you need to do. More formal ways are doing surveys, etc. I sometimes feel surveys may or may not bring the best of the feedbacks, but that's of course the point of my personal point of view. There could be situations when surveys are also more appropriate than anything else. The risk mitigation success rate. That means how many times during the million decisions that you have made in the project, how many times you experienced the setback, failure, rework, these kind of situations. And then if you sort of look at them, what went wrong, you can say contractor did not do this job well, and the supervisor did not supervise this, and even blame people. But I am trying to get at what decision went wrong. Was the appointment of contractor the right decision or wrong decision in this situation? Did we not? Was the person who was doing the work trained or not trained? Was the process which is required to be observed and performed not observed and not performed? So was that the problem? So you have to get back into what is correctable and what is using the feedback. What can be done better in forward in those kind of languages. That's where this mitigation success rate comes in. Often project managers don't measure this. If you ask them at the end of the project, tell me your learnings. People can talk about project performance, on time, on budget, quality. They'll say yes, this left side, right side about this particular thing, and for this reason, for that reason, they'll be able to talk about it. Stakeholder satisfaction, one or two things they will talk about it. Risk mitigation, they will talk only about major setbacks. They will miss out thousands of setbacks that the project is getting, and the aggregation of those thousands of setbacks together into some decision-making principle that they have violated or was wrongly practiced or let's say unprofessionally done. This is something which I would like you to sort of be aware of. Use post-decision reviews to assess outcomes. This is what we do. Continuous improvement. Adjust processes based on lessons learned. So this is what I thought I would bring to your attention. So recap, the idea came as to what to speak on from a struggle that I saw in the company in which I was trying to advise. And I tried to generalize in my mind similar struggles, if not on the project, in other situations may be happening in other organizations also. And the base of it is the decision making. And if we can sort of get this decision making, let us say, aspect on the table and open it up for views, reviews, criticisms, discussions, etc., all of us will get benefited from the process. That's something, the reason why I brought this about. And the key takeaway, in my opinion, is decision making. I mentioned about project environment. In all environments, this can be a fairly systematic process and a structured process. You just have to capture this structure, capture this particular understanding of the basics in decision making. Then you will in future not make wrong decisions very easily. You will make more often than not only right decisions. This is the way in which I look at it as a takeaway. Some tools, some outcomes, some cases is something which is for you to accept and remember, or you look at your own personal experiences and build those cases and those outcomes as arguments to support whatever you're taking away from this particular session. So I have finished. Thank you so much, and I am very thankful to Harish for looking upon me to speak on something. I hope you like choice of the subject. I hope you like the content of the presentation. I have tried to make it more general, more easy to understand. There are many diagrams, etc., available, and I was tempted to use them also. But I think it is sometimes a simple message delivered simply is more effective than making it more complex and making it look big. So please, questions and discussions, I'm open to hear from you now.
I'm Anil Joshi. I think an excellent lecture giving an overall perspective of how decisions are made.
Yes.
I have spent my career, luckily not as a customer, but more as a EPC contractor doer.
So you can be better off in this particular environment than I am.
No. But I'll tell you my side of the story.
Yeah.
So what happens in a big job, there is, like you talked about stakeholder satisfaction. Now, to satisfy stakeholders, there are a variety of stakeholders in any project or any exercise that you do, one is the customer. And in the customer, there are a variety of functions, starting with contracts to engineering to site execution to quality to manufacturing. So to satisfy all of them together is the biggest challenge.
Yes.
And now what has happened in most of the jobs, there are consultants who have been born, and the consultants have their own set of wisdom which they bring to a project, and how to marry them and make a suitable sort of solution for all. Without compromising on the cost of the project, optimizing everything, doing it on time. So it becomes a very major challenge in decision making, and how not to hurt egos. across customer lines, across consultant lines, because one customer may be a consultant, may be a customer, consultant may be operating many projects. So we have to be very careful as an EPC decision maker that how to smooth out the feathers basically and do in the interest of that particular project and also the further stake that any company has. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges in decision making. And as customers, people are very lucky that they have no one to answer in that way except their own management. So probably in Tata Steel, the life is much more easier than an EPC contractor. Because again, in an EPC contractor, you're looking at costs and cost optimization and cost cutting or optimization, whatever you call it. Without that, companies cannot survive. And right now, what happens in the industry, that there are specifications made. I can tell you one specification which is very interesting, which considers an accident to occur and a cyclone to occur, a flood to occur, and an earthquake to occur, all in the same time frame. So you have to design everything, right from civil to everything, considering that situation, which is highly hypothetical, but it has been put in the spec. So either you compromise on the spec, which the customer doesn't allow, or you sort of barter with him in some fashion, because he also realizes it is foolishly put in the spec. So, but the point is that while taking decisions, how to take that decision, how to record it, and you talk very good point on the knowledge management side. I think knowledge management is a very important thing. When you make such decisions which are sort of dicey and can be challenged in the future, I think record keeping is very important. And record keeping not only of technical decisions, but probably of procurement decisions. Because procurement, I think today make or buy decision, whether to buy an item or a make an item, okay, get it from China or make it in India, taken from Indian company. These are very important decisions, and particularly in public sector, I know, and even in private sector today, it is very difficult to defend a decision 4 years down the line that you have faced. Sometimes it is not only individual sort of stakes, but it may be a major decision which requires a record why the decision was taken on that day. So probably I think that point that you made is very vital for a youngster to ensure that you record everything, including the instruction from the boss. Because certainly it should be actually seen by people few years down the line that the available information, the decision was taken correctly. So another point I want to make is that
but
not all.
Just to sort of lest others get wrong message. We have to have something central to the decision making. The project goal, project objective is a central. Then stakeholder satisfaction, cost, budget, etc. They are central. Next central. So all decisions need to conform to these things. And if anything doesn't compromise any one of these things, we should record it. Individual person said this, he said that, etc. I don't think we should get into those.
Not from that point of view. Not from that point of view. If it is a joint collective decision, a decision should be recorded so that, see, you cannot blame an engineer for something which a senior manager or a DGM decides. So probably give it a holistic opinion. I think record keeping, even across tiers, unless it is some wrongdoing. So if it is a correct decision and everyone has put their mind, why not keep it on record? My point is that. Maybe. True. It depends on the situation, I agree. True. It depends on the situation. Sometimes it may not merit. It depends on the situation. Second point I want to make is about the good decisions that we think are good. See, actually, it is very easy to make a good decision if you increase the cost. See, like you were saying that somewhere the problem was there in filing, you took a decision and it happened and it helped. Okay, so that was a very good decision. But sometimes good decisions also lead to oversizing of the whole thing and delaying the project. See, we have one project where we found that the bunker of the boiler was getting sort of tapered. Okay, so the decision was taken not to break it and do some civil intervention to save. So, okay, sometimes the decision may be to break it, then the cost will go higher. So, what I'm going to say is that good decisions may sometimes lead to oversizing, but it may be a good decision in some sense. So, that distinction between a good and bad decision is very easy to find. Because there will be a failure, there will be an issue, everything will be reported. But a good decision, whether it is really good, that point I think has to be seen from the purposes of the intent of the product or the service. And another thing I want to tell, just one point. This is regarding what you told about Siemens. I will just end with one small quick. Since you talk about Siemens advising you, what I found, see, I can understand because expertise was not there and the decision was very right for a company who doesn't have the expertise. But on the flip side, I found that when these multinationals come in India, even for something which is totally belying any common sense, if it is in their rule book, they will enforce corrective action to be done. So sometimes we have to apply a amount of common sense if he can manage the collaborator or companies like Siemens. So my take is that sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes it is tricky.
So it's good against one criteria, but it's not necessarily good against all criteria. Yeah. Very good.
Right.
Yeah, but then these dilemmas have to be resolved in your mind, otherwise you will not take decisions.
Right. And it has to be done timely.
Yeah, yes, correct.
It has to be done timely.